welcome back to John's Sports Corner. Let's talk cricket. The 44th Cricket Hall of Fame induction ceremony scheduled for Saturday, October the 4th at the Marriott Hotel in Windsor, Connecticut. This year's inductees include Cricket Hall of Fame President Shirley Matthews, Roland Butcher, Barbados-born, and the first black player to represent England in Test cricket, Ingleton Liebert, Francis Finley, Dr. Atul Rai, Vernon Springer, Saki Mohammed, Cecil Theodore King, and one Mr. Professor SosoBone Trevor Smith to be all inducted this year's Hall of Fame. Again, the date is October 4th in Connecticut, while Ivy Mahabir to receive Cricket Hall of Fame Lifetime Achievement Award. You know what I never fathomed, Professor? In all the years cricket was played across the globe, none of the major cricket playing countries thought of a Cricket Hall of Fame until some guys who come from country like us up in Connecticut decided around a bar stool one night that it's time to have a Cricket Hall of Fame.
Well, John, my spin on it is that in the A days, when we used to listen to cricket on the shortwave radios, coming live from England, 3:00 in the morning. You sit there close to the radio, listening to the sportscaster talking about as he bowls and it's a four, or he's caught in the gully, or it's through the slips. I mean, we never had internet, John. So we never had the CDs or the type of players that evolved afterwards, where you could actually record, okay, and then rebroadcast privately rather than public to a station. So I would say that the evolution of the internet created an opportunity where you could actually start tying players together from different countries under one umbrella. And I commend Mike Chambers for actually, spearheading the group's discussion that resulted in the first Cricket Hall of Fame. But I think that the technology that we have now enabled that idea to be to be put into play.
Yeah, and as you say, you have to commend Mike Chambers, who is actually the CEO now of the Cricket Hall of Fame, and his leadership of the hall. Really a remarkable thing, Trevor.
Very much.
Anyway, the 12th annual Georgia Women's T20 cricket tournament this weekend, starting on Friday through Sunday. There'll be a 2020 game between Belize and the Georgia Pearls. There'll also be a six-a-side tournament of 6 overs. Each player will bowl an over, and the loss of 4 wickets within the 6 overs, the team is all out. Again, the Georgia Women's T20 cricket tournament this weekend in Georgia Memorial Weekend. Meanwhile, here in New York on Sunday, the 25th, the New York cricket families celebrate, or may I say, memorialize past stalwarts of the game at Roy Sweeney Park, Gateway in Brooklyn. Festivities begin at noon. And West Indies men opened their British Isles tour with a 124-run loss to Ireland earlier today. Ireland, 303 for 6 from their 50 overs. Andy Balburney, 112. Harry Hector, 56. Paul Sterling, 54. Matthew Ford, 3 for 68 from 10 overs. Alzari Joseph, 2 for 51 from his 10. West Indies, 179 in 34.1 overs. Ruston Chase, 55. Matthew Ford, 38. Justin Greaves, 35. Barry McCarthy, 4 for 32 from 7.1 overs. George Dockrell, 3 for 21 from 2 overs. Game 2 on Friday, Game 3 of the 3-game series on Sunday. West Indies women opened their tour of England with a loss. West Indies women 146 for 7 from their 20 overs. Hayley Matthews, an even century not out. Lauren Bell, 2 for 29 from 4 overs. England women, 150 for 2 from 16.3 overs. Sophia Dunkley, 81 not out. Heather Knight, 43 not out. Zayda James and Afi Fletcher shared the 2 wickets. And until we find batting to support Hayley Matthews, Trevor, our women's team will remain wanting. It's a crucial tour for West Indies ladies who have slipped from 7th to 9th in the one-day international rankings.
Right, John, to what do you attribute the shortage of qualified or women's batters in the West Indies, John?
Trevor, it's a discussion partly that I don't want to get involved with. But one of the problems, I think, is the focus. Women's cricket is not taken. Well, cricket, I think cricket overall in some of the islands, including Jamaica, there's not enough focus on cricket, particularly women's cricket. And I know there are little pockets of people trying to build a women's program.
Okay.
But there's also, if you want to call it, a stigma that is being attached to women's cricket. And recently, as we reported, I think, on our program that came through, that there are some problems within even the women's cricket team.
Mm.
And now Cricket West Indies has taken a step that women going on tour do not share rooms anymore.
Okay.
They are placed in separate rooms.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, it's unfortunate, but it doesn't seem as if young girls want to play cricket, so to speak, because of what is apparently alleged that's going on within the senior team.
That's a very unfortunate. Do the men share rooms, John?
No, not anymore.
Okay.
No. And so what Cricket West is saying now that, like the men, the women will, the same standard will apply for the women,
Okay.
that they have separate rooms.
Well, you know, John, in general, sports in general, women have always been discriminated against.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not a, you know, it's not something that anyone wants to talk about, but it's a fact. And even in the United States, you know, it took quite a while before, even when it comes to soccer in the United States, when they decided that they were going to actually start paying the women comparable to the men, because in the workplace, it's one of the problems. Women are not paid as much as men when they apply for the same job and they offer the job. And it has carried over into the sports.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that, now that we have an aging sports minister down in the islands of Jamaica, and probably looking forward to having young blood taking over the sports, we might be able to, get some energy into the Jamaican part of it. But the West Indies in general, we normally say that as Jamaica goes, the West Indies goes, John.
Well, no, Barbados is really I think, the country that produce more of the better cricketers. And even now, the Ruston Chase has just recently been named captain of the test team, and Shea Hope captains the 2020 and the 50 over team now. So, and both are Barbadians. So, they continue to lead the cricket world. Guyana has been producing some cricketers now, and they did in the past some of the better cricketers. I think Jamaica, although we produce cricketers, is not as as much or some of the better cricketers as some of the other islands, Trevor. I mean, we can count the cricketers, top cricketers like a Courtney Walsh, or Mikey Holding, Jeff Dujan. We have Roy Gilchrist going back to several years, J.K. Holt, But when you look at what Barbados has produced, they have a production line.
Yes, but when it comes to compensation, which one of the islands you would say draws the most attention when it comes to compensation? Because having a situation develop with the women where you actually had to go public and state that they're gonna now get separate rooms. I would have to say that that even in the occupancy, or residency, when they travel, they were not treated with I mean, it could be a financial problem, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not saying it could not be, but I have to say that every time I listen to one of these situations, it still draw me back to one person who came out publicly and said they need to make some changes in the way they do things. And that person was in the track and field. That person was not in cricket. In cricket, what we hear is, oh, we got a problem. We're not going into details about the problem, but the women are going to start getting their separate rooms.
Yep. Yeah. And just to mention, the West Indies win the Triple Crown, Trevor.
Okay.
Because, as I mentioned yesterday, the men lost to Ireland, the women lose to England, and the West Indies A team also lost to South Africa A team yesterday. West Indies A team scored 241 all out in 44.1 overs. South Africa scored 283. Well, South Africa scored 283 first, and then West Indies went to bat on 241. So they came up 42 runs short.
So we lost the ground.
We lost all three. The men lost again to Ireland, the women lost to England, and our A team lost to South Africa. So I guess we're just moving on down the line.
You can say there'll be no welcome at the airport when they return home, John.
Well, yeah. Anyway, there are a couple of team changes in the upcoming Caribbean Premier League scheduled for August 14th through September 21st. Sherfane Rutherford heading for Barbados Royals after playing with St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots the last few seasons. Jason Holder heading for St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots after playing for Barbados Royals since the inaugural season in 2013. The Royals and the Patriots have also agreed for Alec Athanaze to move from the Royals to the Patriots. Caribbean Premier League games will be played across the 6 participating Caribbean nations: Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Guyana, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and Trinidad and Tobago. Jamaica does not have a franchise team, so no games will be played in Jamaica.
John, who is responsible for establishing the franchise team? Is it the league, the government, the...
No, the franchises are privately owned, you know.
Okay, so...
And I tell you, few of the franchises now in the Caribbean Premier League are owned by the guys, teams in India, who own franchise teams in India.
So they own franchise teams in India and in the Caribbean.
And in the Caribbean.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Money, you know, Trevor.
Yes.
Is that thing called money? it run things.
and they don't have a franchise team in Jamaica.
No, the Jamaica Talawas were the franchise team, but they weren't apparently getting the kind of support. And the franchise teams get some kind of support from the island governments, but apparently not only the Talawas weren't getting the kind of support I guess the owners wanted from the government, but also they weren't getting any crowds to watch the games either. So that franchise now has moved to Antigua.
Oh.
Yeah. But I understand that the president now, Dr. Bennett, Jamaica cricket president, they're working on getting a franchise, I think, back for 2026.
You know, John, just from an observation analytic point of view, how does the population of Antigua compare with the population of Jamaica, so that you're not getting enough support in Jamaica, so you're actually moving to the small island of Antigua
and Barbuda. Don't forget Antigua and Barbuda. I really don't know what the population is, Trevor, but I don't think it's more than maybe I don't think it's more than 500,000.
Okay.
People, you know.
And Jamaica's in excess of 2 million.
Jamaica?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And so, for lack of support, you go to an island that has a quarter of the population of Jamaica.
Well, you know, you see this thing called Dr. Google, Trevor? I just went to Dr. Google, and Antigua and Barbuda is about 100,000.
Okay. And
so when I said 500,
you're being generous.
So yeah, I was being generous.
I knew that, but I'm just the excuse is you have a team in Jamaica that is not getting enough support from 2.5 million people. So we're gonna move the franchise to a island that adds up 200,000 people.
it's so difficult to be critical when you're on the outside looking in. But one of the concerns, from what I understand, is that our current government are not, if you want to call it, cricket friendly.
You mean,
I'm sorry, not cricket, sports. But you will see them celebrating when the team come back and they win.
well,
A winning team
you know,
lands at Kennedy Airport.
John, after the corruption scandal that came out of FIFA, about 8-9 years back behind us,
Yeah.
and no money is flowing and no money in our run. So, government not interested.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Trevor. But they do find time to be present when the teams come back in glory.
Yes.
And I mentioned this before here on this program that I look at Jamaica as still a amateur based sporting society. And you can see by looking at how much money is spent at boys and girls track and field championships. Can you imagine if, for instance, the Jamaica Premier League had that kind of support, or Jamaica cricket, or Jamaica netball Jamaica had that, even half of that kind of support to develop their sports on the professional level, where Jamaica might be in terms of sports development and sports tourism.
Again, I agree with you, John. And I have to say this without reservation, that if an announcement came out tomorrow that one of the major soccer powers was going to establish a farm system in Jamaica, the government would be at the airport meeting the owner of that team, kissing hands and kissing cheeks and shaking hands. Because what they see coming in is money. And I would hope to think that when they see money, it's money for the country and not money for themselves. Because when you say that the government is not sports friendly, sports is a part of our culture. The government does not have a choice as to whether or not they are supposed to support the culture, brand the culture, so that the tourism that we know feeds off the culture can succeed. So the government does not have a choice to be sports friendly. They don't have a choice to be education friendly. They don't have a choice to be employment friendly. They don't have a choice to be healthcare friendly. They don't have a choice to be agricultural friendly. Okay? They have a responsibility, John, to support all the things that makes up our economy and our cultural branding. And sports, for Jamaica to be classified as the sports capital of the world, and you can come to the conclusion that the government is not sports friendly?
Okay, they might tell you otherwise, Trevor. They're going to tell you how much money they contribute to this one and to that one, But then you look around and you see that the Trillani Stadium is in disrepair. You go to Montego Bay, that stadium, that track down there has not been used. Most about 10 years now. They can't use the track because it needs resurfacing. And of course, maybe the stands also probably facility needs some upkeep, some care. And you look at Sabina Park, although they don't own SosoBone Park, but SosoBone Park is the bit other than Kensington Oval is the main cricket facility in Jamaica. And you can sit down there and allow it to run down, so to speak, to a point where you're scrambling now. Australia is coming in July, and they want to play a day-night test match, and also I think it's 2 one-day internationals and our night games, and you're scrambling now to get proper lighting into the stadium, into SosoBone. I mean, those things, those kind of maintenance should be done from year to year, and not to meet a particular event.
You know, John, you know, there's one ball-headed gentleman down in Jamaica who is always in photographs, getting accolades, getting awards, and he will say that the tourism industry is doing so well. 3 million people, estimates 4 million. We get that from the Ministry of Tourism. Whether or not he is performing or it is being driven by the branding, the bottom line is he still brags about the tourism, that it is a major part of the budget. Okay, now that's one ministry. The ministry we are talking about now is the Ministry of Sports and Development, and we're identifying potholes in this. No, not potholes. Stadiums here, stadium there, stadium everywhere. Just like we speak about potholes here, potholes there, potholes everywhere. Should we be holding the Ministry of Sports and Development accountable, John, when we speak about the disrepair, the lack of maintenance, and the lack of service, John, that has bled off into the athletic department where the athletes start complaining?
But Trevor, the Minister of Sports is not a ballhead now, you know. Just want to clear that up. No, but as I said, you know, Trevor, sometimes you're on the outside looking in and you get critical, but sometimes when you're on the inside and you see what you have and what you can spend, is really a balancing act, you know.
Yes. That is true, John. But I would hope that each of the decision that is being made by the government, when you look at the benefits that is coming into the island from wherever the investor is coming from, wherever the cruise ship is coming from, that when you put the budget together in Parliament, you say we have a $1 trillion budget, and each of our ministries, they normally get the same amount of money, John. They do not give 5 to 1 and 3 to 1, John. Each minister in the government, they get equal. They would never settle for a prorated based on population, John. They each get equal amount of money to spend on their ministry. So where is the money that should have been spent on the repairs and the service and the things we talk about? The population in the country, they complain about the potholes. We know that consistently, John. Ministry of Health, they complain about KP and Cornwall Hospital religiously, John. Okay? When it comes to agriculture, consistent complaint about Jamaica importing 75% of the food that the babies are eating, John. Okay? So, it's not a criticism. It's a fact that the ministries across the board, say that this is what they need to run the country. This is the budget for us to get things done. Okay? That is what the budget is all about. This is how much we need to fix the problems, John. And yes, we know about the murder rate. That is always front page. The crime, it's always front page. Yes, and people are holding and calling out them. So you switch police commissioner like a change underwears, okay? Because you're looking for solutions. But nobody seems to be holding the other ministries accountable, John. And the money is being spent.
I tell you what, Trevor, let's go to another break at this point, and we'll come back with some more cricket. We do have some football news and much more. We'll be right back.